Welcome to the 33rd edition of Women's Wrestling Weekly, the show. Kyle Klingman, Scott Beck. We're going to recap all that happened at Final X. We're going to play a little game, Scott. It's called Where We Were Right, Where We Were Wrong, and Where We Were Sort of Right and Sort of Wrong. Let's start with where we were wrong. 62 kilograms. We didn't think it was going to be Aduga Nwachukwu's time. She proved it as she made the world team in 3 matches over Kayla Miracle. Probably the highlight series of Final X along with 55 kilograms, but Aduga Nwachukwu came out, showed what she can do, scored a lot of points, and she won match 1, won match 3. Kayla Miracle won match 2. What were your thoughts on this match, especially since we were wrong about this?
Yeah, I was wrong on this one, so I'm a moron, I guess I'll say it. I just didn't think it was her time yet, and we did talk about that Army is very good at game planning, having tactics. This version of Duga looked very, very strong, and I would expect her in the most difficult weight class in the world, probably the deepest, to contend for a medal. She looks ready. She just looks sharp. I mean, Miracle was not at 100%. Clearly, her knee was bothering her, but I'm not using that take anything away from Aduga. She was prepared. They had a good game plan, didn't make any really sloppy mistakes, and just looked very powerful, very dialed in with a purpose. And, admirable job by Miracle coming back winning the second. And then, Aduga just prevailed. But this is the beauty of Final X. Like getting through Miracle now, Aduga's battle tested, and she'll be ready to contend for a medal.
And I think the interesting thing with Aduga going is that now you're going to have a U.S. rep that is completely different from Kayla Miracle.
That's a great point, Kyle, really. And I was thinking about that and nobody's felt her. There aren't that many people with that kind of strength, power, explosion. And, some people, I guess she has wrestled in ranking series, a couple have felt her, but many haven't. She's hard to replicate, and she's going to give some people problems. I'm not handing her a world medal, but if we see what we just saw in that version wrestle, she absolutely can go with anybody in the world. And if they've never felt her, and especially even, Kayla was very careful not to let her get to that double. And even in the first match, Kayla was winning the match, came back, took the lead, and then Aduga, took a double into a body lock that Miracle didn't want to be in that place. Aduga forced it, had control, and then got a 4, which was really the key to that match. So I think if people haven't felt her, and she keeps doing. She's clearly improved a lot in the Army room, and they're very good at game planning. And congratulations to her.
And just going back to the U.S. Open, you think about that semifinal match against Alara Boyd where it was a shootout and Alara almost won that, to now really a lot of improvements. And it might just be feeling good and just having the flow and just having a competition mindset. But I just feel like she's made adjustments and improvements since U.S. Open.
Absolutely. I mean, that was what kind of threw me off a little bit. That match was a little sloppy, and I thought, and the Miracle controlled the finals at the Open, so I just didn't see how Alara could open her up as much, and she did. And again, I don't know if that was the best version of Miracle. I know that her knee was bothering her, and it just got injured. So, but if Aduga wrestles tactically like that and clean like that, she's going to be very difficult in that tournament. So, I was wrong on that one, clearly.
Where we were kind of right, kind of wrong, 55 kilograms was a fantastic 2-match series won by Cristel Rodriguez. We've spoke so highly of Cristel Rodriguez. I think going in, you had thought that Everest Liecker was going to win, the 17-year-old, the high schooler from Valiant College Prep. She had a good accounting of herself. She got down early in the first match. And my thoughts were, even when she was down, I think it was 8-0, 9-0, I never thought she was out of the match. And I think that's a real tribute to someone who's that young to be able to come back and make it competitive. But I think you had predicted Liecker. I don't think it was overly predicted, but I think that's one of those in the middle.
Yeah, I mean, listen, my heart was in that because she's 17 and she trains at Valiant. So I was a little biased to Valiant, in all my kind of predictions because, my daughter trains there and I like that room and I like the people. But, we've spoken very highly of Rodriguez repeatedly. I was hoping / thought maybe the momentum would come through Liecker. And, she comported herself and did a great job. And I don't think she has anything to be ashamed of. She, came out down a lot early, and credit to Rodriguez for, going on the, aggressive offense. And Liecker maybe was a little bit, just surprised at that, kind of got blitzed, but then kept her composure, came back, and she was in that match. And I think she will keep improving every week. She did a great job. And yeah, we're a little wrong. My heart was in it, but I said we would not be surprised to see Rodriguez win. And I think, a lot of Rodriguez, and she kept her cool, and then the second match, Liecker was down as well and came back, and Rodriguez held her off. So, Rodriguez, I think, needs to just keep, not shut down so early. I think that kind of hurt her a little bit where she started to change tactics when she didn't get the tech. I don't think you want to, in the world stage, especially, just get a lead and just try to be holding on, because a lot of those athletes out there, very good and can score. But when she's attacking and, her defense at the end of the match, she's good at shutting it down, but I don't think she needs to get to that, maybe, but, good job by both. Big fan of Liecker. Amazing job. She's 17 years old. Maybe the moment got her at the beginning of the first match. Not sure, but, credit to Rodriguez. And she had to go through, a young gun who's feeling it, improving, and that, tests her. 55 is not the toughest weight in the world. And, I think she can contend for a medal for sure. She's game on. I'd like to see that. I like that Rodriguez, when she's attacking, getting to her double, moving forward. She's very technically good, and she's pretty good in, all positions. So, we're wrong on that, but not stunned wrong.
Couple things on that. One thing I love is Cristel Rodriguez's low attacks. I just think that's always fun to watch, to see, pick at the ankle. I'm a big John Smith fan, so anyone that replicates that style I'm going to like. So you want to talk about compare and contrast, just the power style of a Dugo, and then you have Cristel Rodriguez, maybe a little bit more savvy, so that's interesting. But just the in-match adjustments by Liecker, to be down like that and to be able to compartmentalize that and make adjustments, even if you lost, I think there's so many things to take away from that.
Oh, absolutely. And when she gets to her positions where she can take advantage of her length, when she gets kind of short offense and gets, on top there, she's really good at finishing. Yeah, it was very composed. And listen, Rodriguez has the power style too. When she gets to a double and blasts and gets somebody in the air, she's a very clean finisher. Sometimes gets four. Liecker did a good job in one of them turning down and not giving up four, only giving up two. But I think Rodriguez pretty much has a pretty complete game. I think, maybe the weakness is just closing out matches when you're, controlling the match and just, putting it away and staying on your offense and not shutting it down too early.
53 kilograms. We were mostly right on this. I think where I was wrong was I just thought there was going to be a little bit more scoring. The first match was a 2-1. It was a step-up point and then activity clocks. I just didn't think it was going to go that way. And then the second match was a little bit more what I thought. I just thought there was going to be a little bit more action. Wasn't surprised that Taylor won. Wouldn't have been surprised if Gonzalez won either, because it was 2-2 going into that for matches. But I think where I was probably wrong was I just thought there was going to be a little bit more offense.
Yeah, I didn't think the matches would be as boring. Both of them were just pretty horrible matches to watch. But I don't think Taylor cares. They know each other very well, and they were probably a little too over-respectful. I think, when Gonzalez attacked, she scored in the second match, But, great job by Taylor when she got that takedown and she had the trap to get her two turns there. And that was enough. When you go take down a turn, you saw a lot of that in these matches. There were a lot of positions where people fell into trap guts, when they finished the takedowns and took advantage, and you need to get turns there. When you have a trap gut, you have to score. Taylor was on the edge, really, when she came, got that takedown and did a really good job, to make sure she got a couple of turns, and that was enough. Again, they know each other. There's a history, maybe some bad blood between Taylor and Iowa, not 100% sure, but I think, what's surprising to me in many of the matches was people didn't go medieval celebrating. There was not like a going crazy. This is Taylor's first world team. It was Rodriguez's first world team. But to me, the one emotion I felt, like just watching it, I didn't get to talk to them. I know you interviewed everybody. I didn't really see the interviews yet, but is like relief. I think when you finally make a team, it's just relief. Taylor's been around a while. She's had her moments, and for her to make a world team, many good ones don't. And she didn't go nuts and celebrate, though. But I wish the matches would have been a little more interesting. But I don't think we were really surprised by the result or the kind of tightness of the matches.
That's an interesting point because I think what happens with that, just as you said that, and I hadn't thought about this, was you put all this pressure into it. You have a three-match potentially series. You have to win two. You have to make adjustments between match one and two. I think if it was just one match and you won, it'd be celebratory, just like the World Championships. But you've got to gear up again, and it is just, whew. I made the world team. All this pressure is off because it's a layered process to finally make that team.
Yeah, God willing, well, I'll feel that one of these days, for my daughter. But you chase it, and it's so hard to do, and then I just think the moment just takes you in. I don't even know if they how to feel other than just like whoo, oh, it's crazy. So I think it takes a little time to process this, and I think Felicity's probably waking up with a smile on her face today. I would believe.
And I think there's probably a little bit more jubilation for the third place winners who made a national team because they're excited, had one match. And hey, don't disrespect how difficult it is just to make a national team. That's incredibly difficult. Only 30 people every year.
Yeah, it's very hard, and there's many many weights are deep. I mean, I was a little disappointed that a bunch of the True Third matches didn't happen. There were a lot of forfeits, at 50, and I Falcon didn't wrestle, and then Bellemere didn't wrestle against Paige. He forfeited. I think who forfeited at 53? Was it?
Okay, Sage.
Yeah, Sage forfeited to Petzinger. So everybody's got their reasons, I'm sure. And then just I know we're going off on the side here. So and we'll talk about it later, I guess, for now. But so Amelia Lord didn't wrestle. Glade makes the world team. Skylar Grote is sitting there, probably pissed off as hell that she thought she won that match, against Elor. Next thing you know, and Glade had beaten her close at the very end of the match. Glade's on the world team. And then Grote goes and for third and fourth loses another heartbreaker. So she didn't, quote, make the national team, and she would feel she pretty much should have or almost beat the Olympian, Olympical medalist. So it's really not that simple to make a national team. And Albrecht wrestled well. I think, Grote didn't wrestle her best match and kind of at the end made a tactical mistake. I don't know if it was a clock or didn't circle enough, but yeah, you go from thinking, you had the Olympic gold medalist beat to you didn't make the national team. That's hard.
Where I think we scored a bullseye would be at 59 kilograms between Jakar Winchester and Abby Netti. I think we weighted it at 30% chance. She won a match. So if you take that, it's about 33%. And so she won 33% of the matches. She implemented the right game plan, but it just didn't finalize all the way through to the second match. She was up, I think, 6-1, and then just didn't have the fortitude, the mentality to just close it out in the third match. That's so tough to do. Lose that second match, come back knowing you almost had it there. Gosh, that's tough.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were dead on that. That until proven otherwise, Jakara, until somebody takes her down, she's made the teams and she needs to get beaten, to lose. And that's why we thought Abby had a shot. And we thought the Army game plans very well against Jakar. Jenna Burkett's beating her. And Abby was on a mission. So we gave her a legitimate shot. We said 30. We thought it could be closer to 50 maybe, off the record. But we respected the accolades and the track record of Winchester. And, until proven otherwise, if you keep winning, you're the champ in the way, you stay there. And Netti was on a mission. She won the first match. When she attacked, she scored. She controlled center. She was aggressive. She was up 6-1. Jakar hit a big move before and kind of took Netti out of her game a little bit. And then Winchester got a mojo there. You saw her feel it, and she scored 2 more takedowns after. So, she ultimately, I believe it was 9-7. But you could just feel that Jakar got wind in her sails when she scored that big move. And I think it was a tactical mistake by Netti, but she wrestled great. Jakar showed a lot of spunk in coming back in that match. It's easy to quit when you just lost the first, you're down 6-1. She didn't. And when she attacks, she's good. And then that took a lot out of Netti, I think physically and emotionally, and it's very hard to come back. She felt like probably, I'm not speaking for her mind, but, she had that match. And then she's changed the way she wrestled. He came out in the third match. It's demoralizing to lose the second like that. And Winchester came out more aggressive. She controlled center. She got some push outs, and Netti just couldn't get her a rhythm. It's very hard to do that. So until proven otherwise, Winchester's, controls the weight till beaten. I thought Netti had a great open and, final X, and good job by Winchester to, come back. We did another Army, good game plan. They have very good coaches, and they know the ladies, and they know how to coach to beating people. And it was a great game plan against Winchester.
65 kilograms, not what much more you can say there. Macy Kilty just dominated her way through. Couple 10-0 techs, doesn't get scored on. Maybe it's just on to the next, but she just did what she had to do. I think she's probably our top medal contender at this point.
Makes her look really solid. 65 is not the toughest weight class in the world. I definitely think she's a very strong medal contender / title contender. She's had problems with Mongolia in the past. So we'll see who they put and what adjustments she makes. But Macy looks solid. We were dead on that. We kind of thought it was the next topic based on history. A lot of these things, our predictions too, are based, we can go up. It's hard to predict things. You got to go by what you've seen and what the results are until they change. So, Macy had owned Drury, and she did again, and just very fundamental, very basic, very workmanlike, took care of business, unemotional, just goes out there, plods away, doesn't make mistakes. Drury kind of tends to score with big moves, and Macy's too seasoned to, get caught in that kind of stuff. And we're right on that one.
76 kilograms. We were right if there was a piece of where we were wrong, and I don't even think it's being wrong, but I just thought there would be a little bit more scoring in the first match, and then even in the second match until Kylie Welker broke it open. But in the interview, Kylie had talked about how we had alluded to that with the Pan American Championships, where in the first round she didn't look as good, and then every round she got progressively better.
I don't know why I get like that. I think that's obviously something I need to improve on, and that's what I love about wrestling. There's always something to work on no matter what level you're on. So, that's definitely something I need to improve. But a win's a win at the end of the day. So
felt like that here, where she just needed to get that blow out of her system, and then she was able to kind of come through in the second match. But we really respected Diamond Guford, said this is not one to be overlooked because Diamond is good. I just thought maybe, again, like 53 kilograms, I thought a few more points were going to be scored, but those two can be stingy in that first match.
Well, they know each other. They've wrestled. The two matches were both very similar matches where they're 1-1, and Guford had Welker on the clock, and then Welker scored. One, and one was a weird kind of edgy, weird kind of situation. But when Guford was doing what I believe her game plan must have been and digging the hooks and moving forward, that gave Welker a lot of problems. Welker was burying her head, backing up. One time, Guford had double unders, and then Welker one of the matches went for a headlock that was almost like a desperation kind of thing and didn't get it. But Guford didn't score, but Guford looked really well. And we said that Guford's style could give Welker some problems because she's very, physical and tends to hold center well. I mean, really, those matches were toss-ups, until – and the point, it was a 4-point throw where I thought, Guford almost was going to score. They were in that body lock position. And then Welker wound up getting the 4, and that kind of broke the second match open. But she was right there. I mean, they've beaten each other before, and she knows how to wrestle Welker, and I think after the big move, she kind of realized it's kind of over in the second match, and then Welker scored some more points. But a credit to her, for making the match so tough. Welker, we would like to see her open up more. But in a world championship, she's going to have to. You can't use the first match as a blowout match when you're wrestling high-level competition. In the Worlds, I don't know what the seeding's going to be. I got to look at the ranking points, who's there. But, 76 is pretty deep, and you can hit somebody good early. And she's got to warm up better or just mentally get ready to go better because you cannot use that as a warm-up match. And I think Welker's absolutely a medal contender. And if she's on, she could win, but she's got to be ready to go.
Here's what I'd be doing if I was Welker. I'd be picking up that phone. I don't know if you pick up phones anymore with cell phones, but this is what it used to look like. I'd be calling Adeline Gray. She's the best at the mental game and how to prepare. I've seen it firsthand, and she takes care of every single detail. That's why she's a six-time world champion. If I were Kylie Welker, I would be picking her brain unbelievably to try to learn from the best on the mental game.
Absolutely, because we know she has the physical game and the technical game. And I think she took, she got the job done, and those matches were close, but she came out on top. So it's not like she doesn't have any mental game, but she's got to be
Oh,
ready
no.
to go sooner.
No,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Not,
And there is
yeah.
no better at that, like you're saying, in preparation, focus, and that mental game than Adeline Gray. And absolutely good point.
Yeah,
There's
because
a
I
lot
mean,
to learn from her.
when I see Kylie, I see one of the most physically impressive, gifted, and it's coming. She's still 21 years old. I mean, you have to keep
Yeah,
that in mind that this is still coming. But if that can get unleashed, I just think that is a monster that
yeah.
is gonna take over the world.
Yeah, and it'll feed on itself too when she gets the mojo and the confidence going. And we've seen that, and we've seen bursts of that. That version is the best in the world.
50 kilograms, Audrey Himenez and Aaron Goldston again. I think we were spot on here. I think Randy Miller came up with a good game plan. They implemented the game plan. Goldston got scores, actually put her to her back at the beginning of match one. And so great job by them for coming up with the right game plan. But also credit Himenez for just really showing her resiliency at 19 years old, coming through and putting a couple impressive performances together.
Yeah, that was an interesting series, and I think we're definitely correct about that. I mean, Aaron wrestled. Kudos to her. She wrestled exceptionally well. I mean, Aaron's very good. She's very technical. She chain wrestles. She came out to wrestle. She scored. Himenez showed me something I remember in the U.S. Open in 2023 when Lampy, I believe it was 23. Yeah, 23 when Lampy was up by a lot, had her on her back. She's about to, kind of get tacked or pinned. Showed a lot of spunk, got off her back, came back and beat Lampy, and which was unbelievable. And that showed me a lot about Himenez. And you saw that in the Goldston match. She's on her back, you know, and Aaron, she almost was stuck for a second there, and then she was able to bridge off. She showed a lot of moxie to do that, and came back. And Aaron wrestled very well, but Himenez just really changed his directions very well in short offense, has a great sweep single. Aaron has good defense, fought through it. One time Aaron came out the back door in a single. Jimenez was able to, get out of that. She really didn't get to her lace. And ultimately just kept going. And it's so hard when you're especially, Aaron's, getting a little older, Jimenez is in great shape. You just go through a flurry or you give up a takedown here on the edge. You look back up, Jimenez is just standing in the center waiting to go. I mean, she's moving forward, ready to go. She's in an exceptionally difficult weight class. You'll have Japan's going to be very good at 50. Mongolia's good. China's good. Ukraine's good. Cuba's good. So it is a tough weight. I'm not handing her a medal. I think she can contend for a medal, but she's the future at 50. And she looked really good. I'm a big fan, and she's only going to get better. And I just really, I thought Randy Miller and Aaron, I mean, she wrestled great. You cannot find, if you look at those matches, you cannot tell me Aaron didn't wrestle really tough and really well and wasn't prepared. And Himenez is just a buzzsaw. And you did a great job.
Just a comparison. This is always a fascinating part of freestyle versus folk style is that just hypothetically, you can pancake someone to her back from the knees at the beginning of the period and get 2 points and hold them on their back for 2 minutes and 50 seconds and come out with 2 points. In folk style, you're going to get a minimum of 7 points. So just because you own a position and dominate doesn't necessarily translate to points.
It's kind of the funny thing about freestyle because on one hand you can score points in bundles, and on the other hand you can have somebody on the back literally, where they're putting a credit card under. But the other side of this, for the most part in freestyle, if it's kind of close enough, they just call the fall. In folk style, they'll literally take a ruler out to the millimeter. In freestyle, if it's close, it's they just call a fall. So it's unlikely at the highest level somebody's on their back for minutes like you'll see in folk style as much.
57 kilograms, Helen Maroulis and Amanda Martinez. Scott, you had a great scouting report on that. You just said there were some positions that Amanda Martinez could maybe expose, and she did get a double, got pinned twice, but there was a couple moments there that Martinez can build on.
Yeah, I mean, we knew. Listen, Helen's Helen. She's very tactical. She's very technical, and she's very poised. So she did not get rattled if she's not scoring as much. She's very patient, waits for mistakes. Martinez came to scrap, and it's probably frustrating if you're her because she brought it. She was there, but Helen's Helen, and you make a mistake, you get pinned. And in the second take, it's the first match. Helen's up 4-0. Martinez was giving up the takedown. She kind of reached back to try to hold the leg, and you shouldn't reach back on Helen. She knows how to turn, and I think Amanda should have bellied out, given up the 2. It would have been 4-0, and she reached back there and made a mistake and gave up the fall. Helen is, and if Helen gets on top, she knows how to finish when you're in your back. And second match, Helen's patient. She scored. Martinez hit a great blast double off the whistle, head in the center. That's how you got to score on Helen, which is clean, but you got to throw legs there. Helen didn't lose her cool. Then they got a weird kind of flurry where Helen kind of came out in like a gazoni, like kind of reached back, got her in the back and stuck her. Martinez, I hate to say, oh, she got killed. She gave up 2 falls, but she comported, she did a good job and I think represented herself well. And Helen's Helen until proven otherwise. I mean, she's just very poised, technical, and patient, and that's why she's a GOAT. And I think she'll contend for a medal for sure.
60.
Fujinami's going to be difficult.
Yeah, well, medal's different than gold medal because
I mean, but 4. Helen knows how to game plan, but Fujinami's tough.
And in that situation, even if you meet Fujinami at some point during the Worlds, you have to presume she's going to make it to the finals. So you still have that opportunity to get pulled back in.
Absolutely. Helen, yeah. And Helen's got more time to dial it in. Keep in mind, she hasn't been wrestling really all that much. So she'll dial it in as she approaches. And as you and I have talked about, we've even seen times where she's taken losses that you wouldn't expect. And you say, this version of Helen has no chance of medaling. And then she looks amazing and beats, the number 1 ranked people in the world, like when she beat Nando. So I think this version of Helen is only going to get better as she prepares. She's a professional. She knows how to prepare, and she'll be ready, and she'll be a strong medal contender.
68 kilograms really feeds into your point, and I think that point is don't let results dictate what you think about what's going to happen in a match. And Kennedy Blades brought this up in the press conference that she didn't win a tournament in 2024, so I think the allure of winning an Olympic silver medal and throwing people in the dominant style she has, that you automatically assume she's just going to go out there and crush Brooklyn Hayes. So I think where we were right was we thought Kennedy Blades was going to win, but we also said next topic. And Brooklyn Hayes didn't make it necessarily next topic. You had actually said that she could maybe have gaps where Kennedy Blades didn't score for a while. Those gaps ended up being a little bit longer than we thought. So I think we were right about the result, but maybe wrong about just saying next topic.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I kind of was, though, next topic in that. Like, Hayes never really looked to like she was going to win the matches. I really didn't have much doubt. Like, she couldn't really score, but she frustrated Blades for sure. And, she's very long. Long people are tough, and long people are tough against long people. She was able to neutralize some of the Blades stuff. Hayes still is a little raw, and she has some technical weaknesses. There were positions where she actually could have scored and things that Blades made mistakes and she could have scored. But she, came to have fun, enjoy herself.
Brooklyn Hayes!
I would have liked to seen her in a couple of those matches tighten it up a little bit and maybe focus a little more, because she could have scored, and then it would have maybe been interesting, and then maybe we would have been really wrong. But yeah, I mean, she did frustrate her, and Blades has had ups and downs. She still has to get over / deal with, the head stuff. When her head gets hit, it kind of takes her out of her game a little bit. You saw the second match, and she can't, at the moment, she's not very good at like just refocusing it and saying, okay, bang my head, just click it out, move on, because you keep harping on it. At the highest level, she'll pay for that lack of focus, on the wrestling. And easier said than done. I get it, but it is a weakness of hers.
And
Sure.
she said that in the interview that having
Did she?
the headbutt at the beginning really affected her and how she played out the match.
When I took that first shot and we bumped heads, like, that hurt so bad. I'm not gonna lie. Like, now I can say it because it's after the match, but holy crap. But you know, still toughed it out, still won the match, and I'm just super happy and gonna go celebrate with my family.
But to your point too, I think there were a couple moments in the first match where Brooklyn Hayes kind of tried to pull it over, maybe get a 4, and then she kind of looked frustrated, like, why did I do that, and gave up a 4-point. So just a couple things there. But hey, where we were spot on is she's so happy. She came out excited, even losing, she was excited. So that we were right about. She's got a zest for life unmatched.
Yeah, for sure. And it's good to see that. I'd like to see it pull back a little bit the other way, because there were positions where I would have liked to see it. There were positions she could have scored in that first match, especially. And, you know, it's experience too, but she did a great job. And she, you know, was there to wrestle, though. You know, she didn't over-respect Blade. I kind of did, maybe, but she did a good job. And you know, Blade fought through those matches and came out on top.
And Blades also mentioned just what you said earlier about the length just playing a factor, that she might be a little bit taller than her and that she's not used to wrestling opponents that are that tall. So that definitely did play a factor.
Brooke is actually my height, or I think she's an inch taller than me. And the girls at my weight, even at 76 kilos, they're a lot shorter, you know, so I'm usually the tall one. And so it was a different feel for sure. She's very, very strong. She's like one of my strongest opponents I've ever wrestled, and she's also tall. So, you know, just those two together is huge. You know, I feel like I had that advantage usually with my other opponents. Not saying she had the advantage, but it was just basically like my body wrestling me, you know, so it was really different.
Well, she got a feel for what it's like to wrestle a really tall person. And Hayes has really long arms. So she just, you know, she knows how to use her length, and she's only going to get better. Her ceiling is a lot. I mean, because she makes so many little mistakes that she's just going to keep improving, and she loves the sport. So I'll keep an eye on her for sure.
Let's close out with this. I just want to say how much we enjoyed having Reese Laramendi on the show last time, and got great feedback about how good Reese was, and just credit to her for being prepared, coming in with a lot of great insight. And I thought she did a fantastic job. And I think with her, I think you see the future of what this can be. I think she's someone that you can go to, and it felt good knowing that the next generation is here for that type of commentary.
Yeah, I'll say a couple of things just very quickly about women. Like, you know how we always say we want women coaches? It was really good to see, you know, in the tournament, we have Randy Miller against, you know, just Olympic medalists coaching against Olympic medalists. You'll see Verbeek, Sean in the corner. You had Randy Miller in the corner. You have Sarah Hildebrand in the corner. So it's like female women, you know, world Olympic medalists, you know, in the corner. So I love that. And then transitioning to Reese, like we want to help promote, and we're walking the walk on this. We said we want to, you know, promote, you know, women journalists or people that want to do it. And Reese did a great job. And I think even not just that she did a great job in knowledge of sport, she was prepared, she was focused, she was confident. It was good to see. And yeah, people, you know, ladies like her are the future.